Welcome to your astrological forecast for the week of Monday, October 16th through Sunday, October 22nd, 2023. This week we are in between eclipses. We've had that new moon solar eclipse in Libra on Saturday, October 14th. And then in the next week's forecast, we'll talk about the full moon lunar eclipse happening at 5 degrees Taurus on October 28th. Okay, so this week we're kind of just in between these two very intense events. This week is very pressurized, and the moon will be transiting from Scorpio through Aquarius. And keep in mind, in really all of these signs, this whole neck of the woods, astrologically speaking, the moon really doesn't do well in any of these signs. So this indicates that we're feeling a bit agitated, we're emotionally restless. I know I'm definitely feeling it. In case any of you notice I'm different this week, I am deathly ill. It seems to be a bad habit of mine that I get sick during eclipse season. I'm not sure why exactly. So I just wanted to mention that if you're wondering what the deal is with me, that is my deal. But anyway, so moon transiting from Scorpio through Aquarius in between eclipse seasons, eclipses, I should say. Definitely a lot of pressure. The downside is, like I said, we're going to feel emotionally restless, insecure, agitated, maybe a bit stressed or anxious. But the plus side of that is I think this is shaking us out of our comfort zone. It's pushing us and forcing us to take a hard look at our lives and ourselves and look for areas of improvement. Are there things that you've been neglecting, things that we really need to be tending to? This is an excellent week for looking at those things. Hopefully we've set, and re-examined our intentions from the new moon solar eclipse back on Saturday the 14th. If you haven't, it's not necessarily too late. It's a really good time to look at those intentions, because now as we go forward, the moon is gaining light each day, each night. And this means that things are developing. There's something going on here. And so depending on whatever your intentions are, that's what you're going to manifest in a very heavy, very intense and straightforward way over the following days and weeks. Okay. So that's generally the main, atmosphere, the main kind of vibe for this week. There is one planetary event this week. That would be Mercury leaving Libra and entering Scorpio. It really only seemed like, barely over a week that Mercury was in Libra, because it's just traveling that fast right now. So this week we'll talk about what Mercury entering Scorpio means. The mental energy, the intellect is entering this very intense and emotional sign of Scorpio. So there are different pros and cons to that. We'll talk about that in the day-to-day forecast. Okay. And before I get into the forecast, of course, just as always, I need to push those readings. That is what helps support the channel, or you can donate as well. All of that information is in the description. You can also check out my website. I'll probably be linking it up here somewhere. I guess up here, whatever. But you can check out my information on ways to support the channel, or just like and subscribe. All of that good stuff helps as well. Okay, so starting out Monday, October 16th, we've only just had that new moon solar eclipse on Saturday, so we're still definitely kind of in the wake of it, the aftershocks, the tremors. A lot has changed. We may feel like the rug was just swept out from under our feet over the weekend. So now starting the week, we're already potentially feeling a bit agitated, because not only did we just have that new moon solar eclipse, but also moon is in Scorpio now, and moon has just recently crossed over Mars. So this is all just pointing to us feeling intense, insecure, agitated, restless. We feel like something's going on. We can't put our finger on it. And it's sort of a paranoia. This could be delusional. But on the other hand, this can, It can activate our senses, the intellect, the analytical ability, the instinct, the intuition. All of this can be activated by these kind of anxious or, these insecure feelings. Does that make sense? This is commonly what happens with Scorpio placements in general, or Scorpio transits. Moon in Scorpio, while it may not be the easiest or most chill, most stable type of energy, it is excellent at riling us up, provoking us, getting us to take action, and also just increasing our awareness in general. Okay, so it's coming from a place of hardship or insecurity, but there can be goodness that comes of that, creativity, awareness. This can be excellent for learning, if that makes sense. So kind of a mixed bag on Monday. I think this can rile us up. One aspect I did want to mention is that in the morning Eastern Standard Time, moon does oppose Jupiter. So the combination of moon still close to Mars in Scorpio opposing Jupiter expands things. It kind of blows things up. Typically this is good, but not always. So I could see some people kind of overreacting. Certain emotions or thoughts that were kept under may build pressure come to a boiling point, and we may see some kind of explosive, events going on. But hopefully, that isn't you. Again, I would say just take advantage of the increased awareness that can come from today. Moving to Tuesday, October 17th, Moon continues through Scorpio for much of the day. In the early afternoon Eastern Standard Time, Moon will leave Scorpio and enter Sagittarius. So, of course, this is a huge change in the vibe, if you will. Moon has to do with our emotions, how we're doing deep down on a real level, I guess you could say. And with Moon leaving Scorpio and entering Sagittarius, Moon in Scorpio for the last couple of days was a very pessimistic energy. It's very dark. There are some positives that come from that, but it is essentially a very dark energy. So now, roughly halfway through the day, Eastern Standard Time, with Moon entering Sagittarius, this is a much more jovial type of energy. It's kind of like a celebration or holiday. It's kind of a festive type of vibe with Moon in Sagittarius. And this also blends very well with Sun in Libra as well. We're getting into this really sweet spot of the lunar cycle where things are relatively harmonious. And like I've said before, during eclipse season, the entire lunar cycle is intensified. It's not just the new moons and full moons that, of course, those are the eclipses. Those are what we talk about. But it's really the entire lunar cycle that is amplified and intensified. It's multiplied by a factor of 10, right? So with Moon in Sagittarius, getting into this kind of harmonious, waxing crescent moon part of the cycle, this has the potential for being very harmonious, very beautiful. We can be in a we have a higher chance of being in a collective good mood for the next couple days with this type of energy. Okay. And yeah, that's the main development for Tuesday. I do think there's pros and cons to everything. Monday and the first half of Tuesday are restless, but maybe very productive. And then going into the latter half of Tuesday, we're just feeling a little bit better collectively, I would say. Wednesday, October 18th, Moon, of course, continues through Sagittarius, and it's still not anywhere close to an exact sextile aspect to the Sun, but it's still close enough, and it's in a sign that blends well with the Sun's sign. So basically, again, this is a generally harmonious type of dynamic. Moon in Sagittarius, Sun in Libra. These energies are 2 signs away. They're roughly sextile. It's a harmonious. It's a good vibe, generally speaking. One interesting thing about Wednesday is that the Sun does cross over the South Node. So you can see here, my pointer's working. That's good. It doesn't always show up on the video. But South Node at 24 degrees Libra, Sun will cross over that point today. And I like to mention that because remember that it's when the new moons and or full moons, when they happen near the nodes or one or both of the nodes, that's when we get that eclipse, right? So for example, if we had a new or full moon on today at the same time that the Sun was crossing the South Node, that's when you'd get the strongest possible eclipse, if that makes sense. So a different way of looking at it would be to say that this marks the kind of halfway point of eclipse season. It's really more like a month than a season. This thing, it doesn't affect us for a super long time. It's only a few weeks, really. So yeah, it's just notable because, if, in case you didn't like these types of energies and you're just trying to, if you're asking how long until we are done with this, we're already about halfway through. So just keep that in mind. Technically, there's only 2 eclipses for this eclipse season. Okay. One other thing I did want to mention is that when a planet, or in this case the Sun, crosses the South Node, it channels in that type of energy, and South Node energy is very dark in nature. The South Node is basically when a planet, or in this case this is the Moon's South Node, it's the point that marks where the Moon crosses the plane, so to speak, to go under where all the planets orbit. So it's very technical. I'm not going to explain it in depth here, but it's a point where a planet is kind of going into the underworld, so to speak. It's going beneath all the other planets. So that channels in pretty much the energies that you would think that it does. These things can be a bit darker. I don't know if I'd say evil necessarily, but this can bring about kind of dark themes, dark energies. And again, this is what I was saying for the intro, that, this may rile us up and make us feel agitated, uncomfortable, paranoid, but this can be good for getting that extra awareness, and, that discomfort may drive you to seek a higher goal, to demand more for yourself, etc. Okay. let's see if I can get through this without stifling. Thursday, October 19th, moon continues through Sagittarius. And at this point, Mercury now crosses over the south node as well. So you can see Mercury is very closely trailing behind the sun. So we just had sun crossing over south node on Wednesday. Only a day later, Mercury crosses over the south node as well. So again, this means that mentally speaking, intellectually, we're focusing on themes that could be very dark in nature right now, really Wednesday and Thursday. Being in Libra, this could have to do with relationship dynamics, social connections, social dynamics in general. Look to where 24 degrees Libra falls in your chart to see where it's affecting you personally. But as a whole, this is affecting social dynamics, social cohesion, okay? And maybe the dark side of those types of things. So things involving like how much do you have to compromise your own integrity to work well with others? There's that balance, that dilemma sort of that Libra has us deal with. We want to remain authentic and be our true selves, but at the same time, we want to honor others as well, hear others too, and listen. So that in itself kind of creates a battle. How do you find a balance of honoring yourself as well as others when we are all different? Things along those lines. It's very simple when you put it that way, but in practice, this can lead to, a lot of complications and things like that. So there could be darkness coming up there for us to look at and deal with, okay? And very, very late in the day, Moon will leave Sagittarius and enter Capricorn. So still on Thursday, for most of the day, Moon is transiting through Sagittarius. So it's still those kind of good vibes. It's kind of weird, though, in the middle of the week having Moon in Sagittarius, because that does bring about those, positive Sag vibes that we're all familiar with. But at the same time, within this larger context, I think there's a lot of darkness at the same time, if that makes sense. There are also a lot of changes that may be affecting us that are a bit discomforting or pushing us out of our comfort zone. So you have to, it's a bit contradictory. There is that kind of cheerfulness that, let's just have a good time and enjoy ourselves, but at the same time, look around, there's darkness, there are intense changes that we're having to deal with as well. Okay, so very, very late in the evening when Moon enters Capricorn, the vibe changes again and things become a little bit more straightforward. I think that much more serious and a bit more grim as well, to be honest. Friday, October 20th, we of course now have Moon in Capricorn all day today, and Moon in Capricorn is in detriment. So this means that we're not feeling comfortable. We're feeling kind of out of our shells. For those of you born with Moon or perhaps Sun in Capricorn, you're used to this, so this will be easier for you. But as a whole, this is an objectively difficult energy to work with, especially because the Moon is now stepping in roughly within orb of a square to the Sun. Sun is, at the last few degrees of Libra. Moon is now going through Capricorn. So these signs are basically incompatible. They do square each other. So basically all this is just saying that this is the whole theme of the week, that we're feeling restless, anxious, out of our comfort zone. Something is not right. We can't put our finger on it. Those insecurities are bubbling up. And yeah, that sucks. But this is happening for a reason. This is happening so we can evolve and become better, so we can become stronger, okay? And that's also a huge theme that Moon in Capricorn itself deals with. Yes, it's not necessarily the best time for honoring how we're feeling in the moment, but where the priority lies with Moon in Capricorn is, you sort of sacrifice your immediate well-being in order to secure a loftier, more long-term well-being, if that makes sense. So that's what Moon in Capricorn is all about. So again, goal setting, what are your intentions? I'm really preaching that lately. Really, that's always a good it's always good advice, I think, to keep in mind your intentions, especially for you, listening to this. I know many of us are empaths that are interested in astrology, so many of us forget our intentions. We're not in tune with our own desires. So it's always good advice to, get more aligned with your own intentions, but especially during eclipse season and especially with these placements as well. What do you want for yourself? What do you want for those close to you? What do you want for the long term? Because now is a great time to think of those things and maybe set some goals as well. Okay, one last thing for Friday. Mercury does finally catch up to the Sun, and technically they will conjoin at 26 degrees Libra. And so what I say for this aspect is that typically when this happens, like right now, for instance, Mercury is cruising. Mercury's traveling very fast. that means that the information, the thinking, the communication, all of that is very fast right now. It's very intense. We're learning a lot. We're in uncharted territory. And now, as Mercury passes the sun, their energies become infused together, married or coupled. And you would think that the sun would, strengthen whatever it touches, right? Because it's such a strong, masculine energy, such a fiery energy. But what ends up happening is, when a planet is conjunct or even close to the sun, you can't see it at all. It's basically like burnt up. Its energies are obscure to us, or obscured, occulted. We can't see those energies. So basically, in this case, what happens is the intellect, the information, all of that could become too intense. It's like it becomes so energized that it's not really functional anymore, if that makes sense. So be extra aware of mental burnout. Take those breaks. We may be feeling a lot of Mercury energy that's promoting us. It's pushing us to be very busy and learn a lot, communicate a lot. We may feel all of that, but it's almost too much. And so that's where the burnout comes in. We could have, more mental breakdown, or also issues with our electromagnetic current. That can become kind of fried with this type of energy. So again, I would just say to, be busy if you want, get that work done. Again, part of that could be those intentions that we're thinking about, but take the breaks, drink water, rest when it's appropriate as well. That will help you to avoid the burnout. And honestly, this can make us kind of feel crazy as well. So that resting will help to avoid all of those other downsides too. All right, Saturday, October 21st, moon continues through Capricorn. I was trying to avoid sniffling, but it's finally catching up to me. Okay, moon traveling through Capricorn, and it's still not, we still don't technically have that first quarter moon, I don't believe. I take that back. We actually do have the first quarter moon today. So it looks like it will happen very late in the day. I think that's why I was confused, because depending on your time zone, the first quarter moon may be early Sunday, but Eastern Standard Time, it does look like it happens very late on Saturday night. Okay, so basically, remember what I say about, first quarter moons are very intense, even as much so as full moons, I would say. And remember, what I also said about how during eclipse season, it's the entire lunar cycle that is amplified. So put those together, and what you get with this first quarter moon is a lot of intensity. We're going to be pushed to become, very energetic. Children, pets are going to be bouncing off the walls today and tonight. And for us as well, we're going to feel agitated, restless, but also energized and potentially very motivated as well. So, depending on how you approach this I could see how this type of energy would drive you crazy and seem very frustrating. That's another thing, we could become easily frustrated or irritable with this type of energy as well. So this may seem, like a bad thing, but it doesn't have to be. With this type of energy, it's all about making some kind of changes, doing something new. Okay, that's true with any first quarter moon, but especially in eclipse season, and with this first quarter moon in Capricorn, with the moon in detriment here. This means that whatever the status quo is for you is no longer satisfactory. Something has changed. It's either you that's changed, it's your environment, but you need to change something. Basically, I'm not telling you this. I guess I am, but that's just what this chart tells me. Basically, you need to change something. I don't know what it is, but that's why knowing your intentions during this time is so crucial, because you're going to need to know what your intentions are. If you don't know your intentions, you're just going to be used. You're just going to be available to whatever energy is trying to use you, if that makes sense. Your world will become extremely chaotic, right? So that's why we need to stay aligned with our intentions so that we can take control of our lives. Of course, there will always be some degree of randomness in our lives. That's what makes life worth living, I think. But at the same time, you have to have that vision in order to make sense of it all, to have that stability too. So basically, first quarter moon, this is a time for doing something new, making some kind of change. If you've been waiting to launch a project or start something new or take some kind of risk, of course, use your own discernment, but today would be the day to do that. If you've been wanting to know when a good time is to do something new. This is the time, basically. Do something new, start something, anything. And what I always say for first quarter moons, this is, everything is just intensified, like I said. So it's a lot. I'm saying what I say for first quarter moons. Some of this is what I usually say, but it's just the importance of it is increased, basically. So something I often say is that if you don't have anything you want to change, if you don't, there's nothing you want to take action on or start right now, just be active in some kind of way. Clean the house or go for a run, work out or something. Do something where you can release some energy, because that will help you to not feel so crazy and stressed. On the converse side, if you were to just try to rest a lot today, it's going to drive you crazy. You're not going to be able to really do that, because these energies are supporting us in being active, making some kind of change. Okay. And then one more thing. So what's interesting with this first quarter moon, the sun is around 27, 28 degrees Libra, and we have that first quarter moon at 28 degrees Capricorn. So basically, the first quarter moon is conjunct Pluto as well. Pluto's at 27 degrees Capricorn, and the sun will make that exact square not only with the moon, but also with Pluto. Okay. So Pluto is intimately intertwined in this phenomenon, I guess you could say. So with Pluto, Pluto is a dark energy, right? It's channeling up those insecurities, the darkness. It's pushing us to look at those things. And Pluto's energy pushes us to realize that our power lies within ourselves. So I could see all of us having all kinds of different experiences with this energy. We may feel powerful, we may feel weak. But with this type of energy, rather than just viewing everything as chaotic and random and pointless, you have to understand that the power lies within you. What do you want right now? All you have to do is kind of seize that, and you can take advantage of this. This is an opportunity, right? To do something new, do something bold, maybe. Take that action, and the more you do that, the more you are saying that your power lies within yourself. Your power isn't within anything else or anyone else. It's not in your money, it's not in your spouse or your car. Your power is within yourself. The more you understand that, the more you can easily energize the rest of your life. That's the way it's meant to go, not the other way around. Okay. Understanding these things is absolutely crucial for this energy, since it's involved with Pluto, because the less you understand that, the more these types of aspects with Pluto will end up taking things away from you. So whatever you view your power as resting in, Pluto will take that away in order to teach you that your power wasn't in that thing, it's within yourself. Okay, so that's where it almost reminds me of Saturn, how Pluto operates, because it's kind of like a really stern teacher that's saying you have to be wise, you have to be intelligent, you have to understand where your power lies. Otherwise, it's going to teach you the hard way, how to do those things. Okay, so that's the energy. Pretty serious stuff, pretty grim stuff, but at the same time, this can be really big too. I could see a lot of hardship coming from today, but I could also see a lot of success, a lot of, it's a huge opportunity as well. Okay, and then lastly for Sunday, October 22nd, we actually have a whole bunch of things happening today, so let's kind of quickly run through it. For one, very early in the day, Eastern Standard Time, Moon does leave Capricorn and enter Aquarius. So this is a slightly different energy, but it's still kind of an odd place for the moon to be. Moon represents our emotions, and being in Aquarius is very detached. It's not really comfortable with emotions. So again, rather than being focused on how we're feeling in the moment, we may be detached from that. We're not really sure how we're feeling, and we're more focused on ideas that have to do with the future, or large long-term ideas, things like that. I would also mention that we're still in the midst, we're still feeling the after effects of that first quarter moon. So we kind of have almost like a hangover from that today. That really shook us up. It riled us up. So Sunday, we're still feeling that. We're still in the midst of that. So we may still be working on things that just happened on Saturday, or maybe still starting something, something that we put into action Saturday, we're still developing or initiating. Or we're responding to those changes that happened on Saturday. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, two aspects for today. One would be Venus trining Jupiter. So Venus at 12 degrees Virgo trines Jupiter at 12 degrees Taurus. I do like this kind of. It is generally very beautiful when we have the two benefics, the two major benefics, making it such a strong trine, such a strong aspect to one another. Venus and Jupiter, they're the easiest planets to work with. They bring abundance. They bring joy and prosperity. They're both very sparkly, very glittery in the sky. So again, having such a strong aspect like this, trines are very harmonious. So this would indicate, easy abundance, success, etc. However, keep in mind Jupiter is retrograde, so its energies are a bit subdued, and Venus is in Virgo where it's in fall, so its energies are subdued as well. So let's put it together. So that means that there is this connection of potential abundance and joy, but it's a bit delayed. It's coming at us from an area that we may not be looking. This reminds me of a concept of, you may, what is it? Oftentimes we have opportunities or abundance, but we don't recognize it because we're expecting it to come in a different way. We're thinking that the abundance will look like you're picturing, this is an analogy, of course, but you're picturing like a gift box, and you don't realize that there are other gifts around you. They just don't look like that, and you don't realize you're ignoring them, right? That's the concept that this aspect brings to mind for me. Because that's basically what this is. There is abundance, but it's in an obscure way. It's coming at us from a direction we're not expecting. The abundance, it's not how we pictured it would be. So the more we can step outside of the box and become, a little bit more open-minded, a little bit more open to this kind of obscure or unusual abundance, the more we can take advantage of all of that. But if we're, having a more closed scope, we may be unwittingly passing by these options, these opportunities. Okay, one other aspect, Mercury trining Saturn. So basically, Saturn's been at 0 degrees Pisces for quite some time now. So it's just kind of interesting. Pretty much every time any planet enters any sign, it makes some kind of aspect with Saturn. So this is what we're seeing now, Saturn at 0 degrees Pisces. And that's this leads me to the other thing. Mercury does enter Scorpio today. That's something I said in the intro, so that's finally happening now. So Mercury enters Scorpio, and as soon as it does, it trines Saturn, right? So first, let's talk about Mercury entering Scorpio. Mercury is the intellect, the information, the communication. It was doing fine in Libra, right? Libra is an air sign, so we already had that increased communication, talking about our thoughts and feelings. Maybe just talking a lot in general. That's what air signs and air Mercuries tend to do. Now this does change quite a bit. So with Mercury entering Scorpio, Scorpio's a water sign. It's very intense. I would say that's its key traits is intensity, specifically emotional intensity. And so you would think that this would completely derail the logic, that we would become totally emotional. And that's one side of it. We may be much more emotional than usual with Mercury in Scorpio. We may be a bit more biased and viewing facts with kind of an emotionally clouded lens. But the other side of it is that Scorpio does have a lot of analytical ability as well. And basically the way this works is with Scorpio energies, we're feeling insecure. There's something wrong in our environment. That's what we feel. So this boosts all the senses, the instinct, the intuition, the logic, the analysis. Okay. So Mercury in Scorpio, I find, is one of the best placements or transits when it comes to awareness in general. This is really great for, again, you have that combination of the emotional intuition as well as the heightened logic and analysis as well. Okay, so with Mercury in Scorpio, we can really tap into, see all the facts and details. We can use that X-ray vision that Scorpio has. We can use that kind of paranoia or insecurity to motivate us to learn so much about our environments and the people around us, whatever it is that we are curious or insecure about. That's how Mercury and Scorpio works. So again, like with many of these Scorpio transits, it is something that's based on, how do I put it? Like, it is negative in the sense that a lot of what Scorpio is based on problems or reacting to problems, finding threats. It is negative in that sense, but it can bring about such awareness, such learning. So there can be a lot of good that comes from this type of transit. Okay, so that's Mercury and Scorpio. But as we have this, Mercury trining Saturn today, it's almost like they're kind of teaming up a little bit. Saturn represents more about our boundaries, our, whatever is limiting us. It's how we're managing our resources. But keep in mind, Saturn is in Pisces, so this is more having to do with what's limiting you emotionally or spiritually in your mind. What's limiting your imagination. It almost sounds a bit woo-woo because it's kind of abstract, it's ethereal, it's subconscious, Pisces energy. So that's also much, of what Mercury and Scorpio has to do with. So basically this aspect is challenging us to reach beyond our imaginations, and as also just find that increased emotional stability, emotional health. This is also a great day for making spiritual goals. It's difficult to define because on the one hand it's about being very concrete and realistic, but it's concerning emotion and spirituality, things that are kind of hard to pin down, if that makes sense. So how can you make the unreal real, or how can you be more concrete with your emotions, with your spirituality? These are the types of issues that can come up with this type of aspect. I hope that makes sense. Okay, but that's what I have for you for this week. So I hope that forecast helps you or was interesting. Keep in mind, next week we do have some major events going on. So Sun will leave Libra and enter Scorpio. So that means we're entering the middle trimester of fall in the northern hemisphere. And then we'll also get that full moon lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Taurus. So that's the one everyone's waiting for. It's definitely going to be a grand finale to this eclipse season. And it's going to surely bring about a lot of changes for all of us in our lives. So yeah, I look forward to talking to you then. And otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.